A good evening, Programmers Life. Again, back from where we ended the previous time. We talked about single dimension arrays, we talked about multi-dimension arrays. So I believe we have really covered quite something worth about arrays. So back in this episode, still we talk about arrays, but we are going to combine arrays with another concept. So okay, I think we are going to use this. Let's have a new environment. So I'm going to say arrays and functions. Okay, now definitely by the time you're watching this episode, it means you have watched the episodes about arrays in general and about functions in general. So it means that we are going to use two concepts, or we are going to implement two concepts that we already have knowledge about. So I think the best way to pick up this, of course it is something that is easier to pick. I shall begin with a question. This question will guide us through. Write a program that will allow a user to let's say build an array of ints of any size, then B, allow the program to compute the average of the constructed array okay. C, allow the program to print the array. What else? Let's make it for much better. First, it is simple, don't be scared. A, B, C, D. Allow the program to count all events in the array. A, B, C, D. E, allow the program to sort the array. We are going to be specific. We shall use a bubble sort. Now let's make it a little bit tight so that it gives us exactly what we want. Each part of the program should have an independent function to perform the required task. Wow. Okay. So this question is going to really help us go through an idea, a good idea about how you can combine arrays and functions at the same time. Then later, I promise, we are going to look at pointers in C++. So after looking at pointers, then we shall combine arrays, pointers, and functions. If you remember where we started from, at the very beginning of the episodes about arrays, we started by saying arrays, pointers, and references. So far we are still around here. So we know what arrays are, we know what functions are. Then as a programmer, how do you combine the two concepts and come up with something that is really meaningful, and how is it helpful? That is what we are going to see. Then still, how can you combine arrays with pointers with functions at the same time? So that is how interesting it can go. But for this case, since we are combining only arrays and methods, so this is a beautiful question that is going to help us be guided through. So as usual, I'll copy the question, I'll come here and paste. This is a program that we had earlier, but as usual I don't need this program. Okay, if you want the same program, please visit the previous episodes and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Programmers Life. So back here, the question is so strict, pointing us to use arrays, at the same time pointing us to use functions. So I think the best idea would be, let's begin with the functions. So we need a function that is going to help us build the array of integers. So let's come here. So we are going to use prototypes. Hope this is going to help you revisit the episodes where we talked about functions. So I'll say int, let me call it array builder. Now array builder, when we are using functions and arrays, remember, for every array there should always be a size. Okay, for every array there should always be a size. So it means that I'm building one array according to the question, and this array should definitely have a size. So the only way I can handle that is having two parameters, one parameter for the array and another parameter for the size of the array. So I'll leave it to that. So that is how we handle a prototype. Of course, if it was a normal variable, I would eliminate the square brackets, but this one is not a normal variable, so it's an array. That is why it moves with the square brackets. Then part B, compute the average of the constructed array. Compute the average. Average is what? Average is total number of items. No, total divided by the number of items, or sum divided by the number of items. Okay, so we shall say int avg array. You can give these functions your own names if you wish. So it's not a mandate that you have to use avg array, but average is a float, because if it does not return a float, then we shall not get an unattribute value. So let's think about that. Then C, allow the program to print the array. So int array printer. Just giving names that will simplify my life here. So once again, which array am I printing? I'm printing a certain array with a certain size. Then A, B, C, D, allow the array to count all evens. So int count evens. Okay, int count evens, a certain array of a certain size. Lastly, allow the program to sort the array using bubble sort. Now that is another journey that we shall chat about later. So if it will mean to modify the program, we shall get back, but let's first sort out those two. Okay, let's have an opening statement. Array manager. Array manager program. I told you guys you can put anything for as long as it really makes sense to the user, because you're not developing these applications for your own use, you're developing them for users. Now this array should have a size. Okay, that is a principle. Array size to move by, okay, or to handle by, or whatever. So I'll say int int my size. Does it do any harm? So here I'll say cout what? Cout what? Enter the size of the array you wanna do what? You wanna build. So cin is what? Is my size. So declare the array for use. So this one is gonna be int array. Let's leave it there like that. There is no harm. If it was another programming language, then it would of course complain, since it might be a keyword. So there we are. Now another task that we have is to build the array. Now, but we already have a function, so what we shall do, follow, we shall copy this, come back down here, define all the declared functions. So definitely there. So I told you, the moment you reach definition, then remove the termination from the header and call for a body. Then when you reach here at this level, it means you require to have real formal parameters. So let's have the name of an array here. So let's call it user array. User array, and this one is gonna be size. Let's call it size. Like that, size. Okay, now array builder, what is going to happen here? we are going to say see out. Do we need that too? See out. No, let's just say for. I'm thinking of a formal way of doing it. So for what? For size. For I is size. So we shall say see out, enter item at, enter item at what? Let's make it a bit formal. Enter item at user array, user array index I. What are we doing? So that is what we meant. Okay, so since we want to interest at the same line, so we shall just put a tab and press enter. So this one is gonna be cin user array into I. Guys, that function is only going to do something very, very simple, that is building the array. Okay, so the moment you call it, it's going to ask the user to begin entering items at a particular index. Hope we are learning. Okay, once again, average array. So this function now computes the average of the array. Once again, you remove the termination, put a body. We are using the same array, which is called user array, and we are using the same size, which is called size. Wow. So how shall we compute average? We shall follow the same procedure. Int I, this one is less than size. Oh guys, we forgot this. So this has to be put there. Okay, so how are we going to compute average? So inside here we shall have float FVG. FVG is assigned that. So before we get the average, then we need the sum. Not so. So it means that we shall need another variable, int total. Guys, hope we are moving together. We are doing C++ programming. So how do we compute the total? Total is gonna be, total is assigned total plus user array into I. We begin reading from the array, but each time we read, we sum up to total. So the moment we go out of that, we are going to say FVG is assigned total over size. Okay, then what do? We say this, if it's carrying out any computation, then we put a return statement. So we shall say return FVG. But the idea of typecast here has to be thought of. Since we are dividing an integer by an integer, definitely we are going to get an integer, okay, a truncated value, and we are assigning it to a float. So it means that here we shall require to have a typecast to a float. We have done this before, so please, if you haven't checked it out, check in the previous episodes where we talked about side effects. Now we have another beautiful function here, guys. I think you notice how programs grow big and big and big and bigger. So once again, we do the same policy. So here we shall come back. It's the same array that we are handling. We are using user array. Then it's the same size, definitely. So this one is printing the array. Of course, we follow the same principles or logic that we had earlier. So this one goes where it belongs. Okay, so cout is items in the array. Let's say I'm going to say my array into what? Into the size that you gave us. For us, we have no problem. Then we shall say okay, this is going to cause a funny loop. Of course, those words are going to be repeated, but let's first type it out, then we shall solve it. So there you go. Once again, this is gonna be user array into I. Okay, but each time we put an item, then we terminate. So out of this for loop, what is going to happen? When does it jump out? It jumps out after execution. So if it's after execution, around here, because remember we need to close what we have opened. So what I was saying was this has to be out. This has to be here. Guys, are you following? That has to be here. So here we shall have this out. I think we have done this also again in the previous episode, something like this. Array printer. Guys, another thing has come to my mind. Let's first look at these functions again. This is an array builder. It's only building an array, so it's not returning a value, and we are giving it an int. Automatically that is going to be an error. avg array, that one is returning a value, so we shall leave it to that. Printer is only printing the array, it's not doing any computation or returning a value, so it will also be a void. So when we go back up here, you need to work as you're thinking, otherwise you're most likely to blunder around. So here we shall say void array printer count events. I think this will return. So let's even copy right here. So once again, the program is growing and growing and growing. Of course, we shall find some errors along the way, but no problem. Errors show some bit of progress. So user array, and this one is count events. How did we do this array up there? It seems a mistake here. Let's first fix this. Going back, I want to see how the prototype was. This is fake. Okay, this is not okay, guys. Wow, so it's nice to always program as you think. So in the thinking, you're debugging. In the debugging, you're making a more perfect program as expected. So for size, like I told you, this goes where it belongs. So here I'll say check for all events as you do what? As you count. So it means that we need a counter. So int counter. Counter is initialized to 0. Don't forget, when we are talking about variables, we said that each variable that is within a function body is definitely local to that function, so there will be no harm. But if you want to use the same variable outside the function, then you need to redeclare, because the compiler will assume there are two different variables, even though for you you're seeing them as the same variables, but locality or scope matters a lot. So check for events. Of course, here we shall say if. Okay, if what? If user array into I modulus 2 is equivalent to 0, then definitely we should count that one, because it is what? It is an event. So counter increment. Guys, I think this one continues to confirm that we don't have direct access to any value in the array apart from through its address. You even see it here. So else we pass. Okay, it continuously does that. So out of even the for loop, we shall say return what? Return counter, because counter is already having a value. Wow. But don't forget, the program has not yet started. All we are doing is defining all these functions that we are required. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, the focus for this question is to know and to see how arrays can be integrated with functions. And we have already seen and realized that it is very possible for someone to pass an array as a parameter. An array as a parameter. But each time you pass an array as a parameter, whichever number of arrays that you're passing as parameters to the function, don't forget to suggest the size, because each array, like we said earlier on, that each array works with a fixed size. Okay, so back again to the program. So enter the size of the array that you want to build. Now array builder, this is what it does. So the size is already put in place. The array is declared, so we shall have an opening statement here which says building the array. Okay, I told you this is just beautifying. the output, but nothing much. Building the array. So building the array, what are we going to do? Since we already have, this is how functions become sweet and yummy and tasty, and like you have already done the hard work out there, and all you do here is to just flip a finger or whistle or just do anything, or press your remote control, and this function will be available for you and it will serve you as you expect. So call to the function that is to build the array. So what function was it? It was called array builder. But remember, array builder is expecting two parameters. One parameter is an array and another parameter is the size of the array. So when you are passing an array as an actual parameter at the time of function calling, then that array does not require you to use the square brackets again. I'm going to say it again. I'm saying if you had used arrays as parameters in a function, that is for the case whereby an array is a formal parameter. So it means that even in the calling of that function expects an array as an actual parameter or as an argument for execution. But the principle is, or the rule is, you don't include the square brackets at the time of providing it as an argument. What do I mean practically? My array in the program is called array. So if I'm passing it as an actual argument or as an actual parameter, then I don't need to give the square brackets again. All I will need is to put a comma, then provide another actual parameter that represents the size as earlier defined in the formal parameters. I think I'm clear. So I have built the array already. Then I want to print the array. What did I put in the printer? My array. So here I'll say cout. I'll come and say items in the array. So let me do the same that I did up there. So items in the array. So what am I going to do? Call to the array printer function. I told you it's just a remote press away, and there the function will appear. So the same principle applies. So this is array printer. I told you if you're passing an array as an actual argument, it does not come with square brackets. So definitely we do the same here. Wow. Hey, you've seen the shortest time, about 34 minutes. We've already written 74 lines of code and we are still writing. So it means we are growing based on where we started from in our very first episode. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Programmer's Life, and more you will learn, more you'll enjoy, and you realize that you can also become a programmer if you thought it was really too hard to become one. So I have printed the array. Then I want to count the number of events in the array. So I'll say cout the array has so I'll say what was the name of the array? Count events. The array has count events even numbers. Wow. Calling is the order of the right ones, and use as many times as you wish. That is one of the advantages. So lastly but not least, actually the second last, because one is still pending, about sorting using bubble sort, but I said we shall come back to that, since we need to first know what do you mean by bubbling in sorting. So what is pending? I'll print count events, then average. So this will be also simple. So we shall say cout average of items in the array is what? Is avg array, and it's gonna be array, and it's gonna be my what? My size. Wow. So halfway or 90% way. Copy. Let's take to the kitchen to do some cooking. Control A, Control V. Run. Like it says, I'll be running to you, so I'm running to the kitchen. I want to do some cooking. Enter the size of the array you want to build. My size of the array is 5. Wow, building the array. So you see how functions are working perfectly. So 90, 23, 12, 56. Though we didn't do the verified testing, so we cannot know if what is going to be given us as the average is really going to be a perfect deal, but we shall come back to that. So then this one is gonna be 67 items in the array. Wow. Okay, and the array has one even number. Are you serious? There is no, the array doesn't have one even number. What was the problem? It means the problem is with the function. So that is counter modulus 2 is equivalent to 0. Counter. Okay, let's try to run again and we see. Another thing is here, we need to put a new line here. The array has one even numbers. Before that, let's put that right where it says here. I'll say cout. Let me just put in line. So that is where we needed 1. Control A, Control C. Back to the kitchen. Control A, Control V. Running. Enter the size of the array. It's 3. Now let me test it by doing this. 40 is an even number. 20 is an even number. 13 is an odd number. So I expect it to tell me that there are 2 even numbers. You see? So we need to check again. Where is the problem? We said counter is 0. What if we don't have a value for the counter? Let me do it from here. If we don't have a value for the counter and we run again, you know, some errors are funny. 3, of course. I have 20 and I have 10 and I have 1. Hey, so that is so fine. That is so fine. Counter plus plus, return counter. Okay, so checking out why it doesn't count the number of events. Okay, let that be the first assignment for this episode. Try to debug that section and see where the problem could be. Then 2, try to have a list of values in the array and confirm if the average is perfect. So in the next episode, when we drop by again, we shall have to find a way to sort. Otherwise, I'm hopeful that you have picked quite a lot from this session where we're handling arrays and functions. Once again, I'm Programmers Life. Reach me out on +256 751 824973 or programmerslife@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Programmers Life. I sign out.